Well, think of your favorite way to spend time with your family on the weekend, and chances are it won't quite be up to speed with this family. They are living life in the fast lane, and it's still not fast enough. I had a chance to spend some time with them recently at Heartland Park in Topeka, Kansas. Rain and a wet track have slowed things down on this Friday at Heartland Park. Drag racers from around the country are in place for the Summer Nationals in Topeka, including the Rose Racing Team of Omaha and South Sioux City.
And the grandkids sleep up here.
On this trip, the grandkids are back home along with their moms because of school. And Grandma Nancy isn't here to race. Her husband and sons are the family members who have the need for speed. She makes sure that's all they have to think about. Breakfast on this day featured French toast.
Tacos tonight.
They don't take the time to eat, so they have to eat so they can think well and drive their car safely.
And this is where you'll find Nancy during the competition. It's not to cheer. She's all business, making notes on all the other drivers who might eventually line up as a head-to-head opponent. This close to all the action, and she has no interest in going fast.
She don't like speed. She don't like roller coasters. Nothing out of the ordinary when it comes to stuff like that.
Nevertheless, every time Chuck hits the gas in his 71 Dodge Challenger, Nancy is right there on the starting line, doing her part on the Rose Racing Team.
Here you go. Here's at least a half a muffin.
It works. They've been married 37 years, high school sweethearts. And Nancy says the spark she felt for Chuck way back in the classroom wasn't because he had a muscle car.
I didn't even know he had a car, so it was him.
And now she has two sons who each have their own machines built for speed. The competition is serious, and it's a team effort.
You want to pray first before we eat?
Weekends for the Rose Racing Team, a family that lives in the fast lane.
It's hard to beat just going fast. I like that part.
And tacos is what he had to say. Well, it's not the typical weekend for most families. So what about the guys who power down that quarter-mile track, the ones you just saw at the table? That part of the Rose Racing Team later in this newscast. I'll bring in Ross, and we'll go behind the scenes on race day. Still to come, more on the Rose Racing Team, a family that lives in the fast lane. We'll hear from the guys who have the need for speed.
Welcome back. Earlier in this newscast, John brought us the story of a racing team from the Heartland, a family that lives in the fast lane. Now, John, you have the rest of the story.
There's more to tell, Ross, and as you can see, this picture behind us, it's a large family. I really featured the mom in all of this in our first story tonight, but now it's the operation itself and the guys who like to go fast. They have a website, and it has complete information on the dad and his two sons. They travel the weekends. It's a very professional website as well. But this operation is growing, and this is how they get down there. Look at that big rig. 40-foot trailer behind. They can get 3 cars inside, and they pull them out very gingerly. It's a tedious process, but once they're out, they're almost ready to run. Now, Ross, what do you think of this picture? Look at these muscle cars.
Man, those are some big cars.
You know, it's one thing to see them, restored, but it's another thing to actually hear them move down the track. This is Chuck Rose's car here. Let's listen. There he goes, and he's down that quarter-mile track just like that, and his son, as you can see, races in a different class. There he goes. So what's the big attraction about all this speed? Well, I did speak with Matt when he was traveling back from the quarter mile in his golf cart.
It's just a rush. It's a lot of fun. Sets you back in the seat a little bit. Of course, you're strapped in pretty tight. And it's just it's a kick in the seat. It's nice.
And back in the trailer, the Rose Racing Team uses a computer to help dial in their cars. Information that includes the wind and weather conditions. Here's something else you may not know about these race cars, but there's actually a built-in computer. It's designed to keep the car from going too fast. It's the way to keep it competitive. Each racing class has a top speed. Drivers try to come as close to that time as possible without going over. Whoever is closest wins that race.
With the dragster, for instance, 8.9 seconds, and we can't go no faster than 8.9 seconds. Even though the car will go much faster, we have a computer timer in the car that when we take out, it controls the throttle. It will let up for a little bit. However, we prescribe the computer, then it will step on it again. And if everything's perfect, when we get down to the finish line, we'll be exactly at that predetermined time we're supposed to run.
So it's much more than just watching the lights and hitting the gas. A lot goes into dialing in that car so it's fast, but not too fast. So I found all that very interesting. You know, you think you go up there and you just hit it and you try to beat the other guy, but you have to beat him within a prescribed time or you don't win. If you go over, you lose.
Now, I remember back when Scribner Raceway used to have a drag strip up there, and I got in a car up there. That's a scary situation when you get behind the wheel of one of those things.
I know exactly what you're talking about. But this operation, you can see how big it is, and this is a family, but they don't make enough money racing to really pay for this. So
is that right?
You might wonder about that. But it's a big hobby.
Oh, good.
And an expensive hobby, too. Very interesting. The Rose Racing family, and they just have a need for speed. All right, Ross, anything else you want to know? You'll have to ask me personally.
I'd like one of those cars. Can you get me one?
I can talk to the Rose family. All right, that's it for that story, and we'll be back with Caitlin's Overnight Forecast in just a moment.